On January 15th, I outed the hypocrite and former lead singer of the Newsboys, Michael Tait. On January 16th, Michael Tait just mysteriously steps down from being the lead singer and says that even he is shocked that he's stepping down. Then multiple people came forward with credible essay allegations. Then the Newsboys Canadian tour got canceled. And now what are the Newsboys doing? They do not want anybody talking about Michael Tait's departure.
What if I told you that one of Christian music's most beloved voices, Michael Tait of DC Talk and Newsboys fame, is now at the center of one of the biggest scandals ever to hit the Christian music industry? Tour cancellations, allegations of SA grooming, substance abuse, and a ministry scrambling to distance itself from a man once seen as a spiritual icon. Hello, Anointed One. Welcome back to the Anointed TV channel. Michael Tait, a name synonymous with Christian pop culture royalty, the powerhouse voice behind DC Talk, the charismatic frontman of the Newsboys, and, until recently, a central figure in the global, worldwide revival tour. Now, he's gone silent, and the reasons why have finally begun to surface. According to a damning expose, Tait's abrupt departure may have had little to do with the vague, personal reasons he cited, and everything to do with decades-long allegations that are only now breaking through the silence. For years, whispers circulated, allegations that Michael Tait had groomed and assaulted young men, often during tours or private visits. But no one spoke up. Why? Influence, fear, and what insiders call Nashville's worst-kept secret. Over 50 sources, multiple male victims, stories eerily consistent, alcohol, manipulation, blurred boundaries, and late-night brotherly behavior that turned deeply inappropriate. Now, you might have heard the news recently about the Newsboys' 2025 Canadian tour being abruptly canceled. Faith Live, the Christian ministry behind it, cited a growing sense of unease and lack of transparency surrounding the sudden, unexplained exit of Michael Tait just weeks before kickoff. Adam Agee, the new lead, quickly stepped in saying, "God's not done with Newsboys just yet." Tait himself posted on social media that he was stepping back for personal reasons. But the timing, just days before the tour, sent ripples of confusion through the fan base. Now, the real reason for his departure may have just been exposed, and it's far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. We're talking about a groundbreaking investigation by a popular blog, The Roy's Report, TRR. And folks, this is a bombshell. For those of you unfamiliar, Michael Tait has been an absolute titan in Christian music for decades. He shot to fame as part of DC Talk, often called the Beatles of Christian music. They won 4 Grammy Awards, sold millions of albums in the 90s. After DC Talk went on hiatus in 2001, Tait joined Newsboys, helping them achieve massive success, multiple #1 albums, and even involvement in the God's Not Dead film franchise. This isn't just some artist. This is a foundational figure in Christian music. But behind that incredible success, it's now being alleged, lay a dark and deeply disturbing pattern of behavior. For years, rumors have circulated about Michael Tait grooming and SAing numerous victims. And after a 2.5-year investigation, the Roy's Report has documented Tait's alleged predatory pattern with stories stretching back more than 2 decades, interviewing over 50 sources. 3 men, all 22 years old at the time of their alleged encounters, have come forward with eerily similar stories. Each met Tait on tour, were love-bombed with attention, gifts, and alcohol, and then allegedly SA'd while intoxicated. TRR stated that it reached out repeatedly to Tait for comment, but received no response. So why are these allegations coming out now, after all these years? Sources say that despite the persistent rumors, Tait's influence and his network's ability to blackball people from the industry effectively suppressed them. But the tide, it seems, began to shift on January 15th of this year. TikTok influencer Azariah Southworth posted a video reel claiming Tait is gay. Despite it being an unorthodox way of outing Tait's alleged sexuality without consent, it was enough to disrupt the status quo in Nashville, and the very next day, Michael Tait announced he was stepping down from Newsboys. In a statement posted on Newsboys' social media, Tait said stepping down was A shock to even myself, but amidst prayer and fasting, I have clarity that this is the right decision. This announcement came after the release of the Tait-helmed new single, How Many Times, and just 2 days before their first show of the year. While there's no direct evidence that Tait stepped back because of Southworth's allegations, the timing alone gave the Christian music world pause, and, significantly, it gave survivors the impetus to finally speak out. Let's delve into some of the specific accounts documented by the Roy's report. These are deeply personal and harrowing stories. In September 2010, a 22-year-old guitarist referred to as Steven was touring with the Chris Sly Band and met Michael Tait, his childhood idol. Tait took a special interest in Steven, and their relationship, according to Steven's bandmates, quickly escalated beyond what seemed appropriate. Tait allegedly love-bombed Steven with attention, expensive meals, and alcohol. In January 2011, Tait invited Steven to his home. Steven alleges that Tait secretly gave him multiple drinks, and after Steven passed out from intoxication, Tait SA'd him, fondling and kissing him while he was incapacitated. Steven confided in his girlfriend and bandmates at the time, but the seriousness of the incident was dismissed and mocked as an inside joke. He feared being ostracized if he spoke out. When he tried to address it with Tait, Tait allegedly gave only a casual apology and brushed it off. Years later, learning that Tait may have SA'd others, former bandmates Chris Sly and Tommy Lee finally understood the full gravity of what happened. They've apologized to Steven and, with his permission, have gone public to support him. This speaks volumes about the culture that existed and the courage it takes to break that silence. Next, we have the account of Philip, a 22-year-old worship musician who met Tait in the spring of 2004 during a tour stop. As a fan, Philip was thrilled when Tait showed interest. What began as mentorship, according to TRR, turned troubling. Over the next year, Tait invited Philip to his Nashville home twice. During the second visit in winter, 2005, things took a disturbing turn. After drinking, they were in Tait's spa. As others left, it was just Philip and Tait. Tait gave Philip a back rub, which Philip initially didn't see as alarming due to a Christian music culture that normalized physical closeness as horseplay. But later that night, Tait allegedly made a bizarre and inappropriate comment about his anatomy, exposing himself. Philip was offered a spot in Tait's bed. While unusual, it didn't seem out of place to Philip due to his tour life experience. But as they lay in bed, Tait allegedly began massaging Philip again without asking, reaching his buttocks and eventually his anal region. Philip, frozen, managed to say, "Hey man, I'm not into that." Tait apologized and rolled over. Philip never heard from him again. Philip told his then-girlfriend, now wife, within weeks. They chose not to come forward, partly out of concern for outing Tait, believing it could end his career in Christian music. But he never forgot. Now, with more stories surfacing, Philip has decided to speak out publicly. Finally, we have the alleged experience of Taylor, a 22-year-old crew member who joined the Newsboys team in 2014. Tour life was intense, with heavy drinking on the bus. While there was a strict no women overnight policy, alcohol flowed freely. Taylor often bonded with the band, especially Tait, whose unsolicited touches he initially brushed off as innocent. But one night in April 2014, after drinking and an overnight drive, Taylor alleges he woke in his bunk to find Tait rubbing his genitals over his jeans. Disoriented and intoxicated, Taylor froze, pretending to wake up. Tait left. Taylor confided in his fiancée, now his wife, both stunned. Tait had allegedly offered him cocaine that night, which Taylor declined. Taylor chose not to report it at the time, forgiving Tait privately and distancing himself from further drinking sessions. More than a decade later, Taylor and his wife, both having left the Christian music industry, are now coming forward to support another survivor. They describe their experience as painful but necessary, believing divine timing has brought this truth to light. So, what has been the response from the Newsboys when approached for comment about the allegations? The band responded via a statement from their Nashville attorney, Samuel D. Lipshy. While we are aware of unsubstantiated aspersion cast via the internet towards Mr. Tait and Newsboys by one particular individual, because your questions revolve around the alleged behavior and actions of Mr. Tait, it would be inappropriate for Newsboys to speculate or comment. If what you allege can be supported with evidence, we would imagine Mr. Tait and his representatives will have something to say about the matter. Now, unsubstantiated aspersion cast via internet by one particular individual clearly refers to Azariah Southworth's TikTok video. But what the Roy's report has published is far beyond unsubstantiated aspersion. These are detailed, corroborated allegations from multiple sources spanning decades, backed by a significant investigation. The implications of this expose are massive. It shines a harsh light on a deeply troubling underbelly of the Christian music industry, where allegations of misconduct can be suppressed for years due to influence and fear of blackballing. This story is far from over. It forces us to ask tough questions about accountability, transparency, and how institutions within Christian culture protect their own, sometimes at the expense of victims. What are your thoughts on this shocking expose? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops.